Okay, so hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the orientation workshop for the Eco Comic Art Contest 2024, a creative initiative by Delhi, the Network India, Alliance Francis to Bengali, and the theme for this year's contest was, uh, okay, yeah. India alone generates over 3 million tons of plastic waste annually, much of which ends up as litter. The Global Earth Day theme, Planet versus Plastics. So all of us may be knowing that on 22nd of April, we celebrate Earth Day. And this year, the global theme was Planet versus Plastic. It urges all of us to commit to ending plastic pollution for the health of our planet and our future generations. We all have fond memories of enjoying comics in our childhood. Harsho, yeah, maybe there's some sound. Um, from the antics of Tom and Jerry, many of us have seen Tom and Jerry, I believe, to the heroic feats of Superman and the adventures of Tintin. Comics, with the blend of storytelling and visual art, have been a unique power to entertain and educate. It is an ideal tool for spearheading awareness about critical issues. Today, we invite you to channel your creativity to highlight how plastic pollutes our world, why we need to eliminate it, or at least decrease its production and consumption, and the wonderful alternatives that can replace it. Suppose leaves, clay, bamboo. I'm sure you will have many more ideas. Imagine a world where heroes like Superman tackle environmental challenges, cleaning up the Great Pacific garbage patch with superpowers. How wonderful it would be. Through your artwork, you have the opportunity to be a hero too, spearheading the message of a plastic-free planet. So today we are thrilled to have Harsho Mohan Chattoraj join us today for this exclusive workshop. Harsho Mohan Chattoraj, thank you for joining us, is a graphic novelist and illustrator based in Kolkata. He has worked in the comics medium since the turn of the century and has done artwork for publishers and clients in India, UK, USA, Australia, and Switzerland. Some of his recently published works are Algebra, Food and Farming, Chakrapure Chakore, Operation DK, Where Did My Profits Go, Destiny Awakes, and Chotushkon. Harsho's work has captivated audience with its vibrant storytelling and dynamic visuals, making him the perfect guide to help you create your own eco-comic strip inspired by the theme Planet versus Plastics. So today, as we join, I would also like to say that we are opening this competition for three categories. One would be up to age 12, one would be from 13 to 18, and the third category would be 19 up. Also, there would be two categories in the type of submission. One would be two-page comics and the other would be four-page comics. So now the floor is yours, Harsho. Please go ahead. Thank you so much once again for joining. And thank you, attendees.
For all of you for joining, thank you so much for spending your time on our great day, 15th of August. And it's a big day for all of us, especially for those of you who are based in Kolkata. Last night was a big thing. The fact that so many people joined together to support a good cause, that's a very good thing. Now, today we are here, we are trying to, okay, I'll try and share the screen while I'm talking. So we are here today trying to figure out a possible way in which we can create comics, because that's the contest, or that's the main thing which was announced right now. Let me just share this.
Harsho, can you speak a little louder or maybe increase the volume?
Okay, I'll try and do that. Can you hear me better now? Is it okay right now?
Better, much better than before.
Right. So right now, as was announced, so here is this thing, Planet versus Plastics. So we'll try and explain to you the process of creating a comic, which you can do for this. So as was mentioned earlier by my friend, so you can create either a two-page comic or a four-page comic. But before we create a comic itself, I'll have to explain to you the process about a comic. So what is a comic? For those of you, there might be most of you who know what a comic is and how to create it. And for those who are just joining us for the first time and who have basically not much of an idea of what a comic is basically a way of telling your story in the means of using pictures and, text balloons and blurbs. So I'll give you an example also very soon. I'll show you a quick PowerPoint presentation wherein you'll get an idea of a few comic pages and how the comic pages can be done. Now, your story is Planet versus Plastics. What are you doing? How can you? It can be in different ways. So when you're telling a comic story, the story can be done in two ways. You can tell a non-fiction story, or you can tell a completely fictional story. So, for example, when you're tackling the topic of Planet versus Plastics, how do you want to show the process? Do you want to show an adventure of one little girl or one little boy as he's moving around town and he's seeing people dumping plastic and garbage cans and things, dumping things in the wrong places? And that little girl takes it upon herself to tell everybody else that this is not the way to do so. So the story. So in comics, let me just write it down for you to follow. In comics,
Harsho, may I just interrupt you? Uh,
your mic is turned off.
Sorry,
Yeah.
everyone who has joined, I'll just ask like all of you are able to hear clearly. Can I get a hand raise or a thumbs up, something like that? Maybe a hand raise. Yes, all of you can hear. Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
No problem. Sure, sure. So I'll talk about the different steps we have. So when we are creating a comic, here we are trying to ask you to create a four-page comic, right? A two-page comic or a four-page comic. What's the difference? The difference is how you're telling the story. In a two-page comic, your story will start over here. You can have the title at the beginning, and along with the title, you can add your own name so that the reader will get an idea as to who exactly is creating the comic. There you can divide the page into a number of boxes. Now, these boxes, we call them panels. And in each text box, in each of these boxes, not text boxes, rather, just boxes, when we draw some objects, you can also give text boxes over here like this. So, for example, imagine you're drawing a picture of a little boy over here who is saying something. So these things are called text balloons. So I'm just acquainting you with these terms, at the start, so that later on, when I explain to you the process of it, and when I'm using those terms, it's not a problem for you to follow me when I'm talking about it. So over here in the pages, when you're starting off with the pages, the mandatory thing I would suggest is go for something where you're giving the title.
Harsho, I'm so sorry. Some of them are still writing that they can't hear for some reason. Is there a way that you can maybe increase the volume or something?
The volume is at full volume. I think maybe the way the mobile is touching the bottom of the table, maybe that's stopping it. Is the sound slightly better right now?
Uh, if it is yes, then raise your hand up.
Please do let us know.
Please let us know, or you can also type in the question and answer box. You can type in the question and answer box as well. If you can hear or can't hear. Okay. Okay. Okay, maybe you can continue. Let's see how far we can make it easier for them to hear.
Wait, I can't hear anything right now.
Okay. Is there a possibility that you can come a little closer, maybe?
I can't hear. The sound has stopped.
I'm saying, is there a way that you can come a little closer so that the mic catches your voice better, maybe? Am I audible to you? Harsho, am I audible to you?
The sound has completely stopped. I can't hear anything right now.
Uh,
Wait, I'll just stop and come again. I'll leave and come back again. I'll rejoin.
yeah, yeah. Please, please. Uh, Sorry for the interruptions, participants. He's just trying to join back. There's some technical issue.
Can I be heard now? Turn your mic on and just say something so I can make sure that I can hear the voice properly.
Yeah, so it's much, much better.
All right, cooler. So I think I had to basically restart the whole process again. So for this one, for those of you who have joined, I was basically talking about the process of your creating the comic. So when you're creating a comic, you have an option of creating either a two-page comic or a four-page comic. Whichever one you do, whether you go for the two-page option or the four-page option, in the first page, I would suggest you create an area where you are showcasing the name of the title of your story. And along with the title of your story, also in that area, try to put in your name so that we know who the creator is when you finally submit. I think you will have enough time to create your two-page or four-page comic. I think you're getting for the first draft, you have, I believe, till around about the middle or end of October, right? Wasn't that the time frame decided on? Just repeat, just show me once. Mic is off.
So we will come to that later. Maybe you can begin. I'll come to the dates later on. Maybe just since Harsho brought it up. So we are expecting that you could maybe send your first draft, as we say, yeah, by the end of October. After that, Harsho has very kindly agreed to help you improve your comics and maybe give his inputs to your comics. So, and then we will keep it open till the 31st of December to make your final submission. So that is how it would be. And after that, once we have all the comics, then we'll let you know about the subsequent things. You will be given your certificates and all those processes will start. So here, so he has already made a visual so that it's more clear to you. Thank you so much, Harsho.
So the basic idea is you have time in your hands. Now, normally when we work in the field of comics, we don't have time, but here, happily, you've got lots and lots of, billions of gallons of time in your hand to prepare your first draft of your comic at the beginning. The first draft will be submitted, like my friend just mentioned right now, by the end of October. So after Durga Puja and everything else is over, and we will suggest, if we find there are some suggestions to be made over here, then we will suggest some slight edits if required. Otherwise, if we think everything is perfectly fine, we will ask you to continue as you are doing in your normal play. And the final version, we would suggest that you pass it on the 31st of December by that time. Hopefully, I think it will be easily wrapped up by all of you within that time period. Now, moving on, when we are creating a comic, so just in case, I think what I can try and do right now is I can give you all an idea, an example of some comic pages. So if you look at comic pages, it'll become easier for you to grasp what we're asking you to do. So let's see if I can show you some comic pages here, which I created some long time back. Let me see. So in this comic page, look at the top left-hand corner, right over here on top, where you're seeing this is the title, and these are what I refer to as panels. And here's panel number 1, panel number 2, panel number 3, panel number 4, 5, 6. And over here, you can look at these little boxes over here, where you can see the text is placed over there. It says 11:31 p.m. The last bar shuts down for the night, midnight, the usual dinner, fried to death vegetables, oily cold parathas, a strip of fantasy pills for dessert. So this is an idea of how your composition can look like. Your page can contain the first page. If you're creating a 2-pager or a 4-pager, your first page, somewhere or the other, I would suggest you try and create the title. It needn't be like this only. There are other examples I'll show you. For example, this one, Dark Destiny. Look at the title. It occupies a pretty big space where it is very obvious what the title is. And so this is an example. I'm just showing some examples so all of you can be slightly clear as to how to go about creating your comics. Over here again, look at the way the paneling is done. You see one panel on top, you see another panel at the bottom. So that's panel 1 and panel 2. And over here, you see these round things. These we call them text balloons. So when text balloons are basically when somebody, let's say person A is talking to person B, you will have these text balloons. These can be circles, these can be rectangles. So the text you place in this, and you point it at the person who's speaking over here. So this is, if you want to show conversation, that's one very easy way to go about it. Like here, over here, you see, right at the top right-hand corner, you are looking at text bubbles over there, and at the bottom as well. So when people are talking in your comic, you can show the text boxes like this. These we call them text balloons, speech bubbles. More speech balloons idea. And right on top, you're looking at one rectangular text box. So when you're in your story, for example, if you're changing the scene and you're showcasing and starting a new scene, and you have to establish the fact amongst your readers as to what is happening over there, then that caption box you're placing right on top of the panel. It doesn't have to be on top. It can be in the center. It can be in the middle always. But when you're establishing some information to your reader, as a creator, I would suggest go for the top. So right now, moving from here, let's shift to the process of creating a comics. So when you're creating a comic, you have a number of steps to follow. The first step is, I would say 1, think out your idea. Plan your idea and figure it out first. Secondly, prepare a script. I will move forward into and talk to you later about what I refer to as a script. Third step would be draw and color. So coloring is an option. Since you're having so much time at hand, I would suggest you would go for a colored version for the 2-pager or 4-pager. That would be much more impressive. I'm not saying a black and white version is bad. If your artwork and your text looks nice, go for a black and white version. But since you're having a huge amount of time in your hands, I would really suggest go for something in color. We all look forward to that. So the next process after that, drawing and coloring, would be taking on the lettering. So when we are talking about this process, what am I referring to? Thinking about your idea. Now, again, let's come across the story idea, which we are talking about. Sorry. So we're talking about the Earth right now and what is happening to the world around us, right? So here we are seeing lots of pollution happening, lots of wastage happening. How can we help that? Can we help the cause in some way? Maybe in the format of comics, which is why we're doing this comic thing in the first place. How can we, as human beings, explain to the people around us that what we have to do is we have to be careful. We should not pollute the earth. We should be careful with plastics. We should be trying to save our planet from, dumping our plastics left and right. So think of a story, think out an idea. And within the idea, what you can try and figure out is, do you want to go into a fictional story, or do you want to go for non-fiction? So you can actually work on comics in both ways. So again, let me try and show you an example of what I'm talking about. So for example, this comic which you see on your screen right now, this was a non-fiction comic where I was trying to create a comic with my friend Christoph here. We were going to different parts of Kolkata, trying to figure out the haunted places and why those places were haunted. And as a result, we went to, let's say, a few of these hotels and we checked out why they were haunted. So that is completely non-fiction, where you're looking at something where really we had gone there, we had seen something, and we are talking about something which has really happened. Whereas if I'm, for example, going into, let's say, looking at this story over here, the missing ATM, this one is a completely fictional take. We are expecting, we are telling a story about one person who stays in, down south in India, and he has a problem with the missing ATM. He is a person who takes care of the ATMs, and somehow people go by him and rob the ATM he is working in. So this is a fictional take. So your story also, like this, can either be fictional or non-fiction. If your query is, how can we do something in fiction? Let me show you one quick example. So this is something I had drawn recently at another workshop just a couple of days back. So over here, you see, look at the panels. So you have over here in this page, you're looking at 3 panels, right? So the whole story was actually taken down in one page itself. The first panel, a little boy and a father, let's say they're watching on TV, they're watching the Olympics, which are going on. And the boy is saying, I want to win an Olympic gold medal. Now, this one, apart from being a text balloon, also works as the title. So this is also the title of the comic. So when you create a title, it has to be something resounding, occupying lots of space, so that people understand the significance. So the title has to be big and important in your story. Now, moving on, in the second panel, the father is saying, which sport do you want to learn? You want to learn karate, hockey, table tennis? Name it. Then the boy is saying, he's trying to figure out. Then he ends up by saying, I think I'll invent a new game, lollipop chewing. So this, obviously, you know what I'm talking about, is basically a spoof on what we saw happening at the Olympics recently, where, well, somebody from Australia did something very interesting and which alerted the whole world to how you can do sports in a different way altogether. So over here, when you're dealing with comics, you have to first figure out how many pages you're dealing with. Number 2, over here, we are dealing with 2 pages or 4 pages. This is an example shown to you of a 1-page comic. Now, for you, you have to think about 2 to 4 pages. You have to figure that out. Secondly, you have to, think about an area where you're showing your title, preferably in the first panel or in the first page somewhere else, maybe near the end, near the bottom panel. I'll give you an example. So, for example, imagine this is your page. This is the page you're working with. I would say in the pages you create, try to keep this pattern. I would suggest you go with an A4 sheet. You can use an A4 sheet. For every page would be 1 A4 sheets. So if you're going for a 2-page comic, use 2 pages of A4 sheets. If you're going for a 4-page comic, use 4 pages of the A4 sheet. Now in each page, basically you're keeping blank areas over here, all around. So there are some blank areas all around. This is a very important factor in comics because later when the comic comes out in, let's say, digitally in a PDF mode or when it's printed, it's always good to have some blank areas all around the page, you know. Now, in your comic, so for example, we are taking up this topic that we are dealing with, that the planet and our planet should be clear from plastics. So let's imagine we are doing a, let's say, a fictional take on that. Very recently, I noticed on Z movies or Geo movies rather, a very nice, interesting Indian version take on Sherlock Holmes was just started as a TV serial. So following that, we can actually do a Sherlock Holmes spoof again over here. 1 second. No. Okay, so imagine in this comic that we're dealing with right now. So you have our main character over here. This is not Sherlock Holmes. This is, let's say, Shyla Holmes. All right. So over here, she's saying, "Hi there, I'm Shyla, and I believe that we should be aware." So let me complete the drawing. So over here, if you notice one thing, this is something, a parameter in comics, which I should have informed you also about. So when you're drawing a picture, so this is the foreground character, right? So after drawing the foreground character to establish where exactly this person is, you should also have an idea of the background. So the background picture. So let's say the background picture is of a street. This can be a street. So you see buildings behind. You can see a building behind over here. And right in front of her, where she's speaking, I think I'll cut this portion off. So as you can see, she's standing right in front of a recycle bin, a trash container. And as I have been drawing, my idea for the story has also changed, by the way. I was thinking of doing something else, but, and this can happen to you as well. When you're thinking of a story, when you're creating a storyline, you might find that after you've scripted, let's say, page 1 and page 2, you suddenly find that, no, I can do it in a better way. I can do it in a different way altogether. So if required, if you want to change your storyline after that, go for it. So here I've changed the storyline. I'm here, Shaila, and I want to investigate. Okay, so if you check it out now, the page, so we have an area over here for the title. This is your working title area, and where you'll also, you can have a way of putting your name over here so that we know as a reader that you are doing this thing. Now, over here, you're seeing the main character identify herself. Either I'm Shaila and I want to investigate. What about, you ask, she's saying, as if she's referring to you. You are the reader. She's asking the reader, what about? What do you want to investigate about? About this. So what do we see over here? We saw exactly the recycle bin she's in front of. And apparently, there are people who, instead of using the recycle bin, let's say, they are throwing things on the floor. They are dumping the ground with lots of waste material. So this is page number 1. What you can try and do in page number 2 is in page number 2, you can continue the story. You can maybe divide it into about something like about, let's say, 4 panels over here. This is an example I'm giving, so don't follow it exactly verbatim. So this is just an example of how you can create a comic. So imagine in page number 2, in the second page, you're showing that this girl is waiting right now. And so the girl is basically waiting. So she says over here, she's saying over here that I will wait. I will observe and I will wait. So she's standing behind the wall. And she's saying here something like, I'll just wait to see who this culprit is. I'm not writing it right now. I'm not spending time writing. I'm just giving all of you an idea. So she's saying something like, I'll just wait and see who does this. Then in the next panel, we see somebody actually approaching. Here we can make it more interesting by first showing just the feet. So we see shoes of a person approaching. You can give sound effects over here. Tut, tut. Then you see the guy, rather the girl over here, her eyes light up. Then she's saying something like, got him. I think he's here. And then she jumps out. And let's say she is holding a card or something. Let's say a school ID card she's carrying with her. She's saying, just like the policemen, they stop us in the streets and they can tell their criminals, just you wait. Yeah, we are from, so-and-so, we are from the Kolkata Police Department or something like that. So this girl is showing her card. It's basically a school card only. And she's saying, just you stop. I've got hold of you. Now we can turn the camera over. So imagine you're holding a mobile in your hand and you're taking a selfie. So imagine you're taking a selfie right now. You were taking a selfie over here. And now we are switching the camera to the other side. So we're looking at what she is looking at right now. So here she sees one little kid. So he's having, an ice cream basically. And he's basically dumped things on the ground, plastic containers on the ground. And he's not dumped it yet. He's about to throw the plastic container in the ground. And the kid is frightened. So the kid is saying, yikes. Now, does the story end over here? Can we do something to end this thing over here? Maybe the girl says, main character in our story, so Shaila, she can say over here, this is one thing you must not do. Never throw garbage on the streets. Do not pollute your city, etc., etc. Or maybe you can take it forward into another page where this kid says, but I'm not the only one who's dumping the grounds out here. There are people who do it all the time. And so they both stay and watch and they see lots of people throwing, lots of materials instead of inside the dustbins. They're throwing it left and right. So this is how you basically construct a story. I'm not saying this is the story you should go for. Figure out your own story. Think of stories yourself. I'm just giving you a way in which you can take a story and how you can break the story into different panels. That's the idea of comics. And when you're creating the panels, I would suggest try and see if you can maintain this decorum that between the panels, keep a dividing space, keep a blank space as a divider between the panels. Because this way, I'm not saying you have to, it's not something, it's not a written down law or rule, but it's something we do to make life easier for the readers. And it's always easier for you to read a comic book page if you find something like this. So again, moving back to where we started. So I would suggest think out your idea. So we've talked about figuring out your idea. So any questions on that front, by the way? Any responses from the viewers? Any questions they have?
So you can type it out in the question answer box, or you could
Mhm.
also raise your hand.
So if you have any queries, please do share with us. And so firstly, think out your own idea and prepare a script. Now, for this page that we created, how would we create a script? I'll give you a quick example. So let's say this is page number 1. So what you can do is you can open your diary, you can write page number 1. Then this is panel number 1. In panel number 1, what you can mention over here is an idea. So I'm not saying write idea, basically write down an idea of what we see. So let's say a long shot, a young girl is standing in front of a huge building and there is a recycle bin right in front of her, etc., etc., etc. Then the girl is holding also in her hand a Sherlock Holmes type thing. So she's saying that she's a detective. And after that, you will write over here the character's name, the character we've established over here. It's called Shyla. So Shyla is saying, and here's a dialogue, you say hi there. So whatever dialogue balloon you see over here on the left-hand side, whatever Shyla is saying, you place that over here. So this is the text area. This is the general information area where you're writing down in your script an idea of what your story is all about. And after that, this area is about where the text dialogue balloons are. I would suggest that when you're creating your 2-pager or 4-pager, when you're submitting the final PDF, I would like it if you share, let's say you're creating a 2-page comic, right? Apart from the 2 pages of comic art which you're sending to us, it would be very nice to also see how you are thinking out your story. It would be nice to visualize and see how you're writing the script. So if you can prepare a Word document like this, that would come in very handy for us. I'm not saying you have to do this. This is something that I would suggest that you do. Because it happens at times that sometimes you might be slightly worried that maybe you're not sure of your drawing prowesses, but at the same time, your writing skills are tremendous. So this way, even if your drawing doesn't match up to the skills that you look up to, at least in scripting, if we like your script, we'll suggest some ways in which your comic can be improved. So that's something you can try for, right? So I'll just give an example. When I'm talking about scripting, let me try and share with you maybe an example. So look at this page over here. You see over here, it says page 8. Then you see written over there, panel 1. You see refers to the text bubble at the top of the panel, where it said in 1887, Jamsetji Tata converted his business into a company. Then you see the dialogue balloon over here. Jamsetji is saying, my new company shall be called Tata and Sons. My cousin Ratan, Dadabhoy Tata, and both my sons Dorab and Ratan will be partners in the company. And the visual of a small conference hall, executives are seated. Jamsetji stands on a small stage facing the executives. And just so you are understanding how the script follows into the art, here's a look. This is what we call the layout. So one more option you can try for, since you're all starting off into the comic sphere, I would say this is not required. This is something that we normally have to do. We create a layout page where we prepare an idea, a rough idea of what the page will look like. And this is what the final page looks like art-wise. But you can make out through this, the yellow boxes over here. This is the caption boxes, the text boxes, the dialogue balloons, right? As to where the text is placed. So, and let me see if I can give you one more idea of the script. This is a page from another comic, the Algebra comic. So look at this, panel 1, Interior Police Station Cell Day. Caption, Police Station, Greater Kailash. And then the description, Alpesh is sitting inside the cell while holding injured zebra, that's a bird, in his hand. His cheek and eye are swollen after the punch he's received. And he's saying, I don't know why this happens. I was just performing the tricks as per our plan. But why did you get greedy? So this is what I'm visualizing over here. Look at the top of the screen over here. So you can see the person sitting over there. He's wearing a magician's uniform, and there is a bird right next to him, and he's talking. So the dialogue balloons over here. And this is what the artwork looks like in the page. So now I hope that at least you have a rough idea of what I'm referring to when I'm suggesting that you focus on the script. So after thinking out your idea, after planning your idea, work on the script, prepare a 2-page or a 4-page script. After that is done with, start on your work, draw your comic, color your comic, and after that's done, you can do the lettering. One more way out would be you can do the lettering, that is putting in the text, before you do the coloring. Now, I would suggest if you can do digital art using softwares like Photoshop, go for it. But since we are referring to, people of, contestants of different age groups, I would say if you do it on a piece of paper, that'll be perfectly fine. But remember one point over here, imagine you're creating a 2-page comic, right? So after your comic is done, I would suggest that you save these 2 pages on your mobile phone or com and export a PDF. And this PDF is what you will try to send by the middle or end of October. If you can send that from the PDF, then we will get an idea, a quick feedback of what has been done. Now, one more thing, again, a reminder, in the comic you're creating, the first thing you should, remember is the title is a must. So think of a very interesting title for your story. It doesn't have to be in a circular box like this one. It can be a different type also. It can be a different way. Like, for example, if this is your format, if this is your page area, by the way, the page area is a must. Make sure you keep blank areas on all 4 sides, right? Top, bottom, left, and right. That will be very helpful for all of us. Now, over here, you can also keep the title over here. It can be like this, or it can be like this, or you can even create a title near the end of this panel. And again, about the panels. Now, panel structuring in comics is very interesting because there is no fixed way in which you have to create a panel structure. So I'll give you some quick examples of how the panel structures can be done. Just remember one thing, when you're creating a comic page or a sequence of comic pages, a story, either go for remember the idea of rows and columns. That comes in very handy when you're creating a comic. So remember, you can create, let's say, for example, you're going for the 3-row approach. This is row 1, row 2, row 3. Now remember, the eye moves from left to right over here. Again, in the next row, left to right. So in each row, you can keep 2 to 3 panels. Or sometimes you can just simply keep 1 panel itself in the whole row. Remember that fact. And remember one more fact about comic pages is that in each of the panels can be a number of things. You can have close-ups in the panels. You can have long shots when you're establishing a particular place. Let's say you're wanting to showcase a house and a tree and a person riding a bike. So this is what we call a long shot. So try to use these things in your comic if you can. So this would be a long shot. And now when we are zooming into the camera and we're looking at the guy who's on the motorbike, This is a close-up. So when you are creating your script, you can always try and, you know, tell yourself as well as us when we're going through your script as to whether each panel is a close-up or a long shot or a mid-long shot, what you're trying. If you can do that, that will be really very good because we would understand your thought, your feeling that way. So I think I'm done with the explaining of this thing. Let's hope we can create a very nice comic about the topic we have right now, the world, and we have to save, the planet versus plastics. We have to save our planet from too many plastics and it's crowding up the whole area and finishing our life. So we have to do something about it. It's up to you as creators to create a very nice comic. Okay, I'll wait right now to see if there are any questions right now.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Harsho, yeah. There's someone who is asking, like, if you could mention the type of materials they can use to draw their comics, like whether they can use sketch pens, whether they can use pencil, crayons, they should sketch it, or they should do on paper or digitally. So we are keeping it open on both versions. So if you can just maybe throw some light on that.
Of course. So there are two versions in which you can do it. One is A, you can do it digitally. The other option, we would say, on paper. In fact, right now, since there will be so many of you who will be submitting your works, I would say go for focus on this on paper. If you can do it on paper, then the advantage will be all of your artworks, all of your pages will be a similar size. And so it'll be easier for us to figure out and, put them all together. So we're looking forward to take all these comics together and, eventually showcase them to the whole world. So it'll be good if you do it on paper. Now, like I said, when you're drawing, go for A4 sheets. Don't go for anything smaller or bigger and go for the portrait format, as in the long page. Let me give an example of what I'm talking about, just so that you're all quite completely clear. This is an A4 sheet. This is an A4 sheet. And this is your comic page. This, for example, is your comic page, right? So finish your whole work in this page. Now, over here, one thing to keep in mind is, remember the format I showed you? In each sheet, whether it's the first page where you have the title or not, you must remember to keep a border area, blank area on all sides, all four. Materials you'll be using. Okay, I would say firstly go with pencils, erasers, because the first step of creating comics is we pencil in the artwork. After the scripting is done, when you're creating the comics, first use pencils, erasers. So that's for the drawing stage. Now, for those of you who are above the age of, I would say 8 or 9, please try and use a pen. It can be a gel pen or it can be a dot pen or gel pen. To do what? This is to do the inking. So for example, when I do my inking, I either do it digitally or when I'm doing it on paper, I use dot pens or gel pens. Use a gel pen or dot pen for inking. After that is finished, now you're moving on to the stage of colors. Now, what colors would I suggest you to use? I would suggest from all the colors I've seen, because my children, they're also about 8 years old right now, 2 daughters, and I've seen them use different colors that I never knew earlier when I was a kid. But I'm discovering new colors nowadays. I found out that the coolest colors seem to be the pencil colors. They turn out very, very interesting work. But I'm not saying just because I'm suggesting pencil colors, you can't use sketch pens or what they are using nowadays. I'm seeing actually paint brushes that kids are using nowadays are available. So if you find them, or even let's say stuff like this, you can even find box crayons. So if you can whatever you want. So you can even use watercolors. You can use watercolors, not the pen shaped watercolors. I'm talking about actual watercolors. It's up to you. You're creating your page. So whatever you use in it is entirely in your hands. But one thing is, I would suggest for this, endeavor that we are going for, I would suggest don't go for digital at all. I'm saying do this on paper. Do this completely on paper. So all of our works are there, and we can figure out how they're coming across. In fact, like it was mentioned, by the end of October, when you're submitting your stuff and you're sharing your work with us, we'll have a look. And if we find that there is some way you can maybe improve, or some area where we will actually tell you, cut down the artwork a little bit, add more text. So we can give you suggestions which will only improve your work. But for this one, go ahead and do some very nice comics. I would say go for the 4 pages. 2 page option is also there, but you have so much time in your hand. You have a month and you have what? This is August. So you have September, October. Holy shucks, you've got 2.5 months in your hand. Forget the 2 page option. Go for 4 pages. Come on, we want a story from you which is nice, which has 4 pages in it. Go for it. Go for it. Take it on, friends. Take it on and create some nice comics. And in case you have any questions, you can always ask Earth Day, and we'll try to help you with whatever suggestions we can from our
Absolutely.
side.
Absolutely. And Harsho, you would be happy to know, in fact, for everyone, like we have registrations from such a wide category. So we have 7 years old, 8 year old to someone who is 50, 42, artists, housewives, teachers. So we are
Excellent.
really expecting a wide range of artworks and stories from all of you. So
Absolutely.
yes, go ahead and Vihan, like if you have a question, you can maybe write it in the box. Please go ahead and do that. And uh, I'll just sum up by saying some of the important parts of this competition. So, everyone has been asking about how to make the submissions, when is the date, digital or on paper. So, Harsho has mentioned. So, Harsho, I'll just request, since we have such a wide variety, let's also keep the digital form open, because some of them might be wanting to do it digitally as well. So let's keep both options open. And
Not a problem.
yeah, some
The
people were
questions.
asking,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
You continue.
Yeah, some people were asking about the size of the paper. So Shu has very clearly mentioned that let it be an A4 sheet, so that it's easier for the judges to understand, and based on that. And in terms of what you get out of it. So two things that are there for people. So we would be selecting the best, many of the better ones to feature in an ebook that would be there. So that would be to the wider audience. Everyone would be able to see that. And apart from that, those who would be submitting their artwork, their comic, they would be getting a participation certificate. So that is a recognition that you will get, and obviously you become part of this huge community that we call Artist of the Earth. That's a global community of artists who are really contributing to the cause of environment. So that is the third thing that you all would be a part of. So the first submission date is 31st of October. That is by when, as Harsh was mentioning, you need to submit your first draft. And then if there are any improvements or any small edits that would enhance or improve your comics, Harsha would be happy to do that. And later on, you would get till December 31st to submit your final submission. So those are about the dates. We will, sorry, you had
One more
something
thing.
to say.
Yes, I was looking at the questions over there, and one question which attracted my attention was that if you can create a 2 page comic, that's also possible. I'm not ruling it out. That is certainly there. If you want to create your
Complete.
story and go for it, go. I would suggest 4 pages as a general thing, so that or everybody submits the same type, similar thing. But again, we are open. It doesn't have to be on paper only. If you want to do digitally, go for it. But make sure if you're doing digital artwork that the A4 size remains there. When you're working, let's say on Photoshop or any other software, make sure that you're working on an A4 size area so that the size remains constant. And if you want to create the comic in 2 pages, that's also a possibility. So we're not ruling that out. So it will certainly be there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I see two hands raised. So I'll just allow Vihan and then Prakhar to go ahead and speak. So yeah. Yes, Vihan, you have something to say?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So, sir, my question is that uh, I have a one, I have one
Can you be a
question.
little louder? You're not audible.
Okay. Sir, I'm just saying that. Sorry. Uh, sir,
Do you want to?
can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
So, sir, my question is that. So, sir, my question is that. Can we make the drawing behind the paper?
You mean to say both sides of the paper?
Yes, sir.
So, what I was mentioning, maybe you would prefer to do it on four different sheets because then the impression of one side won't show on the other side. So, preferably on four different sheets. That way, it would be easier for people who are judging or seeing to understand it properly.
So,
See,
sir,
one
I'm
more,
saying.
see, one very good point, which and mentioned over here right now. Always, when you're drawing a comic, make sure you're using different sheets. Drawing on
Okay,
two sides,
sir.
yes. Go on.
Okay, okay, sir. Sir, I have one more question.
Yes.
Sir, can we use pens to make the outline of the character?
Sorry, can you?
Can we use like pens to make the outline of the character or
You want
the
to use you want to use a pen after the pencils, right?
yeah.
Of course. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
no problem. What is your age? How old are you?
sir, I am 12 years old.
12 years. So, like I said, say if you're below 8, I would suggest go for pencils only. But if you're above 8, you can easily go beyond pencils and you can start using inks. And even if you are below the age of 8, even if you use inks, nothing is wrong with it. Go for it. Go for it. Nobody is
And
stopping you in any. Create some new
sir,
comic, create new stuff. So
okay,
I
sir,
think Vihan
Okay.
has got.
sir,
So
Okay.
sir, sir,
yeah, yes, go ahead.
sir. Can we, sir, after we are using the pen, so sir, can we use the back side also because I think the when I use pen, so the the pen impression do not I think come behind the paper.
Sorry, Vihan, maybe it would be easier if you write in the question box. There's some
You're getting.
audio. Maybe
Hello,
it would
sir,
be
can you
better.
hear me? Sir, can you hear
Uh,
me?
Yes, yes, we can
yeah,
hear you. Good.
Sir, I was saying that can I use both the side after using the pen? So I think that expression do not go in the behind the paper.
Not a problem.
so
You do what you think is correct. I'm sure you'll turn out some very good pages. Don't worry. Don't worry. You think
uh,
you I would suggest each page should be on separate pages entirely. Don't use the back side of a page because, like you were saying, right? The inks marks will be clearly there on the back sheet. So try to use different sheets of paper. In any case, you create something new. You do something new and please share with us. And we will try
Okay,
and
sir.
get with whatever feedbacks we have, right? I'm sure you'll create some wonderful stuff. Go ahead. Who else was there?
okay. Yeah, Prakhar, I'll just allow you to speak now. Yeah, Prakhar, please go ahead. Prakhar?
Sir, can you please
Yeah.
tell again that where do we like have to submit it? Because there was some network issue. I couldn't hear it.
Where you'll have to what? Separate. Sorry.
No,
No, sir, submit.
regarding
Sir, submit.
where to submit, Prakhar, don't worry. We have your email ID. So all of you would be getting emails from our side to keep you updated. And we will also take your questions if you have any questions in the process, so that we can make it easier for you to prepare your artwork. So you would be informed. Don't worry.
Okay, sir. Sir, I have one more thing to ask.
Yeah,
Sir,
please go ahead.
sir, what is the reading order of a comic? क्योंकि सर मेरे पास भी एक कॉमिक और सर मैं ऐसे पढ़ते पढ़ते कंफ्यूज हो जाता हूँ कि ये क्या ऑर्डर है.
So I guess he is asking about the way he or she should read the panels, which order they should
Okay.
follow.
Okay. Okay. So let me give you an example over here. Let me open one comic page, one of these. So let's imagine you're looking at this particular page, right? You're looking at this page. So you can make out there are 3 rows over here. Row 1, row 2, row 3. So in row 1, there is only one panel. So that's your reading order is from the left of the panel to the right of the panel. Next, when you come to row number 2, there are 2 panels. Again, you'll be reading from top left to bottom right of panel number 2. Then panel number 3 is the one on the right-hand side. You're reading from top left to bottom right. So your first dialog balloon is, my system also requires some routine maintenance. That is the machine speaking. And the person is saying, okay, Hema, set it up with contractors to do it while I'm away. And last, you're seeing an inset balloon as panel number 3, where it says, have a safe trip. So this is how you read. And after finishing row number 2, you're moving on to row number 3, where again, you see 2 panels. So you first check out the second panel. This is the way we normally read, right? In the Japanese format, they read from right to left and from back to front. But we read from left to right, and we read from top left to bottom right, like this. So that way, that should be your normal way of reading any comics. So you read from the top of a panel, you take the top part of a panel, top left-hand corner, move from there to the bottom right-hand corner. So that way, the story you're telling or the story you're reading will be equally accurate. So I hope that answers the question. Okay, go ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, thank
Sir,
you.
sir,
Yeah.
sir,
Yes, go ahead.
sir, can we start making the comic now?
If you want,
Sorry.
you can. He's asking if you can start making the comic now. If you want, go right ahead. But
Please,
so
please,
Thanks.
please. Okay. Shami, I do not have your name. I'm just allowing you to speak. If you could first introduce yourself, you can tell your name.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you please tell your name first?
Sir, I am Noha.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a doubt that I am not good at drawing. So if I am doing digitally on Canva, so do I need to use pen there also?
if you're doing
Sorry?
it digitally, he's
Yeah.
basically asking that if he's doing the artwork digitally, do you want to use pen? Yeah. So when you're using that, you have to use a paintbrush tool or a pen ink tool, right? So yeah, draw like that. And again, your drawing skills don't matter. Like I'm saying, so I would suggest if you're going, let's say, for a 4-page comic, apart from the 4 pages of comics you're drawing, also try to write the script. That is the story in the panel format. So even if you're slightly worried about your art not being that cool or that great, at least we can make out your story, right, from what you're
Right.
writing. So make sure you do that, and don't get worried about your art style not being. Over here in a comic, we are telling a story, so it will be good
Yes.
to have, if the art style is good, it's always nice, but it doesn't mean that if your art style is not very good but your story is great, we'll say it's a horrible comic. Nothing like that. We'll love your comic still. Don't worry about that.
We will take
Okay,
your
sir.
comic, whatever you will send in totality, and we will definitely see the content of it. So please don't worry.
Exactly.
And sir, I have one more doubt.
Yes,
Sir,
go ahead.
when I come to hear that there is like we have to make a comic. So when I started making, I you I started writing that a non-living plastic bottle is speaking to a person. So can we do like non-living?
Absolutely,
No, no,
absolutely.
no problem, no problem. That's fiction. That's fiction you're going for, right? So no problem at all. Continue, continue. Create your comics. Go ahead.
And
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I really love your idea. So please go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I guess we do not have any more questions. We can just once scroll
It's
through.
all done, I think.
Okay, so the topic or the broad theme for the comic is planet versus plastic. So we are looking at to make it easier for you to understand, you can focus on what is the current scenario, like the why plastic is such a big thing now, why plastic pollution is causing so much mess in the world. Second is how we can tackle it. So you can introduce ideas how to tackle plastic pollution. And the third is you can focus on alternatives. What are the different alternatives available to us? So for instance, one can be like we carry our own bag going to the market. So a story can be around that. So that is where you can show how one is shifting from using plastic to a cloth bag or a jute bag. The other one can be someone, as Harsho was showing, stopping someone from littering and creating that awareness so that people start becoming more aware that one has to be responsible while throwing the plastic, using it, and something else. So it's up to you. The broader theme is planet versus plastics.
You think of your ideas. The more ideas you have, the better it is, and it's completely open. So we're not restricting you. So think, like I said,
Complete.
it can be non-fiction entirely new. You think of your story and you share with us the content, and we will give you a feedback basically around about the end of October. Okay?
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
sir,
Who is?
Sufyan.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Sir, can you make the A4 size sheet fold so is it like two A5 sheets? So it
No, no,
will be better.
no, no. Each page should be one A4 sheet. Try and keep that because the only one who will be participating. There'll be many participants, and we are trying to make sure everyone is following the same format. Please try to use the complete A4 sheet, please. Right?
Right. Right.
Okay, Monolith, I think
Right.
we've really given all the
Yeah.
information. So if we talk
Yes.
more, it will get
Yeah.
slightly more
So
complicated.
yeah. So keeping in mind that everyone's time is valuable, we are now closing the webinar. So thank you so much, Harsho, for
Thanks.
sharing your time, creativity, and expertise with us today. Thank you to all the comic art heroes. So I'm already calling you heroes because you have joined this and you are showing interest in creating this difference and creating awareness. And let us work together to create impactful comics that inspire change and contribute to a cleaner and greener world. We look forward to seeing your artistic expressions and the stories you will tell in this exciting eco-comics journey. We will share the recording of today's session, as I mentioned to you, so that it's available for you and you can refer to it. Thank you so much and see you again. Bye.
Thanks. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye. See you, everybody. Goodbye.